Benjamin Moore offers more than just paint. They offer partnership, backed by over 140 years of innovation and crafted from the finest ingredients. Their products deliver exceptional performance and efficiency on every project. Find out how they can support your success. Connect with your local rep today at benjaminmoore.com. The folks over at Danner have been building boots here in the USA for nearly a century. Their factory in Portland, Oregon, is staffed by skilled boot makers from all walks of life. They show up every day to build boots worthy of the toughest workers in America. Every tool used expertly to its fullest capacity with honor and trust. The integrity that they build with speaks for Danner's legacy of quality. Find boots built in the USA over at danner.com. Festool is inviting professional builders and tradespeople to experience the next generation of cordless performance and rewarding them for it. Festool just launched its Cordless Test Drive, a nationwide opportunity to try its cordless tools with new battery technology and enter to win over $50,000 in prizes. The grand prize, a fully outfitted 7x16 Southland cargo trailer loaded with bot storage solutions and more than 30 Festool cordless tools, including track saws, a cordless table saw, and miter saw. It's easy to enter. Register an eligible Festool cordless tool, leave a review, and you're in. Even better, Festool's 30-day risk-free trial lets you test the tools before you commit. Head to festoolusa.com/test drive to enter by December 31st. Bring the warmth of stained wood to exterior ceilings, soffits, and more without the maintenance. Versatex Canvas Series pairs premium wood tone laminates with durable cellular PVC for long-lasting curb appeal. Versatex resists moisture, rot, and insects and installs with standard woodworking tools. Available in 9 distinctive finishes like Turner Oak, Natural Amber, and Driftwood across multiple trim profiles. Explore the full Canvas Series lineup at versatex.com. Our first question comes from Miranda. She writes, "Hey y'all, thanks for your thoughts on my floor over pier situation and the book recommendations. I was able to get both from my local library. I'm in the process of reading through A House That Needs to Breathe. Still struggling to settle solidly on exact products for my wall assembly. I was trying with tar paper after you were all talking about it in a number of episodes back, but was met with horror by many carpenter friends at the pain in the neck factor. So who knows? Anyways, I've been listening through we should wait a minute. We should. It's no surprise to me that when we say folks should consider felt paper as a exterior WRB, that carpenters recoil in horror at the thought of that. Yeah, you're nodding, Grant. What do you think? Would you want to?
I could just smell it. Like I could just smell the tar paper. Feel
it on your hands.
Yeah, it's like, oh, I can just smell the tar paper.
What do you think, Ian? Or is it make sense in some situations, or is it always just too much of a pain to worry about?
I don't know if it's that much of a pain. I think it still has its place, especially behind masonry. I think that's still the standard use for it as a WRB.
Do your designers? I mean, do they ever consider it for
No.
assembly? No, because it's just old fashioned, or because it's a pain to work with.
I think because it's old fashioned and they would come off as behind the times.
That's too, yeah. Miranda goes on to say, I've been listening through the podcast starting at the beginning while doing mindless things like painting on waterproofing. And I got to wondering, if you think about the decade since the podcast started in 2016, what are some of the biggest changes in what you all would recommend for assemblies, products, tools, anything like that? Can I still trust what you or those other guys said back then, or has the industry learned and changed significantly on most things? Okay, back to waterproofing before this thorough seal sets up. Thanks as always for the entertaining, thought-provoking conversations, Miranda. All right, y'all, what do you guys think? Can you trust the former podcast? Let's start off with that. Ian, what do you think?
I would have to say that you still can trust much of what you guys said back then. I mean, I think of the stuff that Rob Yagid and Justin Fink were talking about in the early part of it, that it's still got to be as good advice today as it was back then. I think it's important to maintain your level of curiosity about all things building science. And just because you hear of some cool material that somebody is using somewhere else in the world, don't just automatically think that has a place in your project. Do a little bit more research and make sure that it actually fits your needs. And I think that kind of curiosity and uh, doing a bit of critical thinking has always been something that's been pushed by the people on the podcast over the years.
What do you think, Grant? Did you listen to the podcast in the early period?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And I would agree with Ian. I think it's definitely still a great resource. The advice still holds true. And similar, what Ian says is, curiosity. You'll hear people doing crazy things in building science, but I think the important thing to remember is, the science, the actual how the building works, that hasn't changed. We were talking about air tightness, bulk water infiltration. We were talking about all these things back then. We were talking about them before the podcast started. There's been people talking about them for years. Have we certainly developed new products, new technologies, things like that to apply what we know? Absolutely. But a lot of it, and one of the things I always enjoyed about the podcast is, I'd like to think, and our readers are probably going to write in and go, haha, that's not true. But I like to think we demonstrate that we all have a thought process when it comes to this stuff. It's not like we're just, sitting here and like, oh yeah, we saw this online, so you should go do it. We tend to talk from experience and also from an understanding or a thought process. So that's where I think, you can kind of follow along with some of these older things and see what the base understanding or thought process was behind what we were talking about back then.
I think one of the challenges that people have, whether it's the building science or assemblies or products or tools, it's because of the industry that we're in. We're trying out these different things every day, and we're getting inputs based on how they work and how they work on our projects that we can then carry forward into new projects and relate those to people through venues like the magazine and the podcast. So it's a little bit different for somebody like Miranda, who is just doing work on their house, and they get kind of that one shot at getting it right. So I would hope that people still see value in the work that we do as part of the magazine and the podcast to kind of help direct them.
Mm. Yeah, and honestly, there are a few resources I feel that you can trust. And when we get stuff wrong, we own up to it and try and make it right. And I'm the first to admit we've made mistakes in our materials, but try and
Wait,
correct them.
are you telling me that the guy standing in front of the green painted OSB telling me how great it is somebody that maybe is trying to sell the green painted OSB?
I would be concerned about their motivations. Let's just put it that way, right? It's hard to dislike something you get for
I'm
free.
shocked.
Yeah. One thing. Go ahead, man.
I say what Ian said, it just sparked a thought, and it's something I've been thinking about a lot lately. Is spending some time on the road, different places, and meeting some of these builders. We on the podcast and here at the magazine and at GBA, we have we're kind of a luxury that we get to see projects from all over the country, all over the climate zones, and all kinds of different assemblies. But something to remember is, if you're in, I don't know, Hampton Roads, Virginia, or you're in, Des Moines, Iowa, like, you don't necessarily have to, the concepts are going to be the same, but you don't have to understand how, what's the assembly going to be like in Florida? What's it going to be like in Maine? You just need to figure out what assembly works in your climate. Like that's what it comes down to. And I think it's very easy, and this might be sort of to Miranda's point, to kind of get overwhelmed by the information and the idea out there. And you see this on Instagram, or you see this on this article, or you see this from this manufacturer. But ultimately what you got to remember is keep going, is like, you just got to figure out what works in your climate and why it works in your climate. And if you have assembly that works in your climate. Yeah, maybe somebody in a different climate is going to go, oh, that's a dumb assembly. But man, if it works in your climate, it's a good assembly, then use it. That's part of building.
It's funny, on the subject of social, media, I was looking at the Fine Homebuilding Facebook page, which never fails to frustrate me. So we showed a diagram, a beautiful illustration of an air to water heat pump, and someone's comment right at the top was, "It's going to create condensation and water everywhere," and I'm like, maybe, but what's the humidity in the house? Maybe. Where is it located? There's like no nuance of just like, this is a dumb idea. Just completely ignore this. But this person is just responding to something that might be a problem where they're at. And it might be New Orleans, right? And yeah, if you're putting refrigerated water through the house, yeah, there's a good chance it's going to be a condensing surface. But
it took everything that I had to not reply to the guy who left the Instagram comment of, do these guys get paid for hawking composite material? I just wanted to reply no, but I really wish we did.
Yeah. Anyway, right? Oh my God.
I'll tell you something, and folks who've listened to the podcast for any period of time will have heard me say it, but it seems like in the years I've been doing this, decades I've been doing this, the change of water moving through assemblies, sorption, adsorption, absorption, has changed. The recognition that this is more nuanced than people first led us to believe has come to be mainstream thinking, that modeling of assemblies can show accumulation. And I think the point is that low load buildings behave differently than the buildings that were common, 20, 30 years ago, even 10 years ago. And we need to be more cognizant of how stuff will behave when we're not pumping tons of energy through walls and roof assemblies. Am I right in that? What do you think,
Well
Grant?
said.
Yeah, I think as you tighten up the assembly, like you said, make it lower load, it certainly removes the factor of safety in terms of some of these things. The more control you're able to have, the more control you need to have.
Someone should put that on a t-shirt, man.
I know that should be the next GBA t-shirt, but we could sell them. That'd be great. I'm sure I'll get like, maybe a penny on every shirt sold for that idea.
You'll get your salary and you'll be happy about it, Grant.
What about products? I think ERVs are now the standard. I think it used to be that folks said HRVs were for, heating climates and ERVs were for cooling climates, but now it seems like ERVs are the standard everywhere.
Yeah, I think I bought an HRV right at the end, maybe like the final day of when that was the recommended unit for where I am.
Did you get a good price on it?
No,
I was hoping, yeah.
No, I didn't. But now I kind of wish I would have had an ERV with some of the humidity issues that I'm tinkering with that I've talked about on the podcast before. So, but I did also get changed into a different climate zone, so that might have something to do with it too.
So did the problem start when the climate zone changed, or
yes, as soon as they published the new data, it changed immediately. No, like everything else, it's a gradual change that's hard to keep track of.
What do you think, Grant?
All I can think of is, to that comment of, change right away, is how do the deer know where to cross? That's a deer crossing sign. That's all I can think of. No, I agree. I don't think I've ever put in an HRV. I don't even know if I've ever seen one, really, at least in my area. It's all ERVs. Definitely technology like that. And I think they're definitely becoming more and more widespread. I mean, even 5 years ago, you said the word HRV or ERV and people are like, what's that? And now, more and more people are seeing, especially I'm seeing it, there's still some builders, some trades who aren't super, but I tend to ask HVAC contractors whenever I see them. Like if I'm on a project, they're on the project, I'm like, hey, do you guys install HRVs or ERVs, just to kind of see? And we're getting more like, oh yeah, we did a couple of those now, and they're something new, and to them it's a new technology, but it's cool to see that it's spreading, which is good.
On the tool front, Patrick, one thing I'm excited about is the exoskeletons. I think those are slowly becoming more and more common. I saw a demo of somebody running a marathon with a leg exoskeleton that was pretty cool to watch, and I think that's going to help a lot of tradespeople lengthen their careers and just be able to do things easier on the body, like we were talking about before with the impacts.
When you were talking about, putting 100 anchors in a concrete ceiling, in a day, like, that's all I could think about was that
Yeah.
would actually be really helpful,
Yep.
to do that work.
Yeah, and there's a lot of tasks where that's going to be very helpful to people. I just think about drywall finishing too as a task that can really be helped by just that little bit of extra ability to hold up a sander or hold up a mud-filled trowel.
I would have told you 10 years ago that you were crazy, that
Yep.
employers would never pay for that technology, but now I see these amazing, worker lifts
Yep.
and material handlers that, like, when I started in construction, those things are really rare, but now they're on every job site, and,
Yep.
maybe not everybody has the exosuit, but the person who needs it has it and can work for far longer than they might have been able to otherwise. I think batteries, are incredible compared to, even 10 years ago. What do you think, Grant?
Yeah, yeah. I thinking back, and it's crazy some of the tools now. I mean, it's insane to think about. Like there was, back in 10 years ago, 2016, there was an argument to still keep some of your tools corded,
Yeah.
and I think that's, I mean,
Multi-tools.
yeah, exactly. Maybe the only reason to still do that is cost. But man, like the convenience factor of, we have large saws and compressors and nail guns and rotary hammers and all this stuff that's all battery and it works well. Um, it's definitely a little more expensive than the corded counterpart, but uh it's insane. Like I was looking at Milwaukee has like now like power screed and a plate tamper and all kinds of
Yep.
jazz out. It's like, whoa, that's wild.
Things that can replace your generator, and, who wouldn't wanna do that with the fumes and the noise?
Yeah,
And if you needed
running a gas-powered power screed indoors for like, an hour while you're placing concrete, that's totally good for you, right?
Yeah,
I
yeah,
yeah, I don't know how people can, like, do the work without passing out. It's terrible. I would, add, the diagnostics equipment to the list
Yeah.
of amazing tools that have, changed the industry since the podcast started. Manometers, blower doors, duct blasters, these things all existed, but, now they're mainstream and they work so much better. You don't need to be, trained. Uh, the devices, the digital interfaces can walk you through the connection process and a testing
Yeah.
of deck work and buildings, and it helps you do that. You don't have to do it every day.
the one
Our
I can
Go ahead,
go
Grant.
ahead. Okay. The one I can think of is thinking about that, not only Dynamics tools, but man, layout tools. Like
Mm.
I think Stabila was like the first company to come out with like they had that little robotic like layout. I can't remember LAR 180 maybe. I don't know if that's the name of it, but it like could automatically like kind of turn and find square. And now like I just saw Milwaukee has the it was like big like a big deal when they came out with their first 3-pane laser and it had like the little micro adjust knob, and now it automatically does that. You set a like a receiver at one end on a mark and it just lines itself up. Like insane.
What were you going to
Yeah.
say, Ian?
At TDS, John Moore, the project developer that we have on our team, and I have been really inspired by Randy and some of the diagnostic equipment that he has. And John and I have had a couple of back and forths with Randy, and we're looking at ways to up our game with our diagnostic equipment and just giving John some tools that he can take into a house and maybe move some of the design work forward, get engineers that we work with better information about the house, and It's a really valuable service that you can provide your client, but also it's valuable to you as a company in setting up your projects better.
Fewer surprises, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And I would argue it prevents you from being sued. No, that water leak was there, right? We
Yeah.
talked about that, and yeah. IR cameras, in that vein, right?
Yep.
Suddenly, anyone can have one. You can buy it on Amazon for a few $100, and all of a sudden you have this very powerful diagnostics tool for tracking down leaks of all sorts: water, cool air,
Yeah.
hot air.
Even just the 3D cameras, like Matterport is a main brand of one that we have, and it used to be something that was mostly for realtors, but they've gotten good enough to where our design team uses it to get a head start on the house. But even more importantly than that, our project managers will use that during pre-con to actually take a look at the house and do a walkthrough uh, on the computer, as opposed to having to drive across town and schedule something with the client to walk through the house. But even carpenters, as they're working, like once you demo something, you don't know what was there before anymore. So if you kind of need to see something that was existing, you can go back and look at this 3D model of the house and see what it was before.
That's really cool. That is so cool. If you all have thoughts on what has changed in the industry over the last 10 years, we would love to hear what you have to say. Tools, products, assemblies, building science, client interactions, whatever it is, please email the podcast and we'll talk more about this. I think it's a fascinating topic, and I want to thank Miranda for reminding me of the 10-year anniversary of the Fine Homebuilding Podcast, which is a pretty awesome milestone. And I want to thank you all for listening, that your support has allowed us to, keep this on this long and hopefully continue to add, a valuable conversation to the building industry. So thank you.